Live from LeadFeather Studios, it's the most controversial film podcast on the air. I don't give a flick.
Do we need to introduce the show with a song? Again, are we doing that still? We didn't do that the last couple episodes.
No.
Let's do the whole experience. Come on, guys.
Let's do it. Kate hasn't been on with us before.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's been like a long time since we planned this. So.
It has been a long time. It's been like 2 years. It's literally been like 2 years.
Well, as the guest, Kate, would you like to pick the song?
Like any song?
Sure.
No pressure. We'll see if we know it.
Yeah, why not? We always like to start out with a song.
Okay. Well, then let's do the one from The Mask. Let's
go.
What is it called? Cuban Pete.
They call me Cuban Pete. I'm the king of a rumba beat.
But it has to come from Jim Carrey, okay?
Oh, Gary, give me your best Jim Carrey. Go.
I already did, and apparently that was not good enough to even make it.
I didn't even know you were doing Jim Carrey.
They call me Cuban Pete. I'm the king of a rumba beat. Singing chick chicka poo, chick chicka poo, chick chicka poo.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't even know that was the song. I haven't seen The Mask.
I had to look up the lyrics. So.
Did you really? I haven't watched The Mask since I was 8. So it's been a minute.
Please watch it again, then. It's like one of my favorite movies.
I do love old school 90s Jim Carrey. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love Jim Carrey. He's one of my favorite comedic actors. Yeah, I should. It's been a while. It's been too long. Speaking of being too long, we've been planning this episode for what? I mean, we just said, Kate, but 2 years at this point, I think, when Mitchell introduced us. Hell, that was even before I took my trip. So it has been a minute. So happy to have you on. Let's jump in. I'll do a little intro. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of I Don't Give a Flick. I am one of your hosts with the most, Jonny Blackburn. Alongside me this week, as they are normally every week. Depends on where their contract is landing. Did you guys finish your contract talks, by the way?
I'm with you every week. I mean, you have never done an episode without me.
You have not paid me the $6 million I was promised in my contract.
That's bullshit, by the way. We totally did pay you 3.5 of that.
Well, it's not 6, so what can I say?
I mean,
the wrong business. I should join your podcast.
You should. Yeah, jump on
money's at.
Yeah, we're all millionaires here. Can't you tell? I mean,
so
look at the background. Look at this is Gary. Gary and I are sitting in the same room. We're actually sitting across the table from each other right now. So you can see the other side of the house.
We're in different mansions.
Gary, if the background...
We're in another studio.
Yes, that's right.
Different mansions. Have you seen the background of these houses? Do these look like mansions to you?
You should, change your Discord background so, I
should. We did do that earlier. Anyways, apparently this guy's with me every week. He's really not that memorable. That's probably why I keep forgetting. Gary Elmore, you're here. And you're a host, I guess.
Thanks, Jonny. It's always nice to be here on my own show, I guess.
Is it?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. You're like, I'd rather be doing most other things.
This show is stirring up into something new, and by the end, we're gonna see punching.
Usually we do.
You'll for sure. If this is your first time on the show, you'll notice as the show progresses, they will stare at each other more and more and begin to hate each other more and more.
We'll get progressively more and more violent as the show goes on. Yeah, so typically it usually ends with me going through this glass pane in the back. So it's pretty crazy.
It's a pain to have to replace every
my
week.
God. I wish Michael was here because we could make so many jokes.
After 2 years in Texas, man.
After 2 years in Texas. Anyways, and bringing back... Actually, this guy hasn't been here in a couple episodes. And he's on daddy duty for the most part. We got Neil Riley. Thanks for joining us again, Neil Riley.
That's right. Like I said, I'm doing this pro bono since you can't meet my contract agreements, but we'll hammer that out.
Are you really doing it pro bono if you're one of the hosts?
No, as a producer.
And one of the executive producers.
You owe yourself $2 million, right? Because that's a third of $6 million.
You own a third of this company and show, so I don't really know if... I don't know if that works. Guys, super excited. As we were talking about before I gave my my amazing intro. It was probably the best one I've ever done.
Sadly, yes.
We were talking about... I was talking to my good friend, Kate Surinskaya over there. Kate, thank you so much for joining us. It's been 2 years in the making. So happy that you're finally here. And actually, it kind of works out because your short that's been making the festival circuit, doing quite well, I might add, it's been out for a bit now, hasn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, thank you. I finished the film, I would say, in January, maybe like February 2022. So yeah, it's been a year.
Yeah.
And I think we're wrapping up festivals around November, and I'm going to work on like distributing the film to short film platforms and anywhere else, just wherever I can find as many eyeballs as I can.
That's dope. Yeah, that's what you have to do with those short films. You really just got to blitz the market, plaster it everywhere. Like that really does seem to be the only way to get anyone to notice them nowadays. There's just so many.
Or get on podcasts and talk about it.
That's true. Free marketing on a podcast. For those of you that have not been tuning in recently, we are trying a new segment. Starting tonight with Kate. This is going to be our indie spotlight. Basically, it is a episode where we take an up-and-coming indie filmmaker and give them an opportunity to go ahead and advertise their most recent projects, talk about their story and how they've gotten to where they are today, and really hopefully give pointers to, aspiring artists and whatnot about how they got to where they're at, to tricks of the trade, things like that. So, Kate, we're super happy to have you on our inaugural episode, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to be first, I guess. Like, this is something new that you're starting. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we normally focus on. It's normally a panel type discussion, but we did an episode last week where we talked about the rise of social media in entertainment, and we literally just had one guest. So we were just kind of like, I'll give it a shot. Anyway, so let's kind of I do want to hear kind of what everybody's been up to really quick before we jump into this whole thing. Did anybody like watch a bunch of the Oscar films? Did you guys get in on any of the betting pools? I do every year, but what about you guys? Anybody, did any award winners surprise you? Anybody you thought was gypped? Anything like that?
Well, for me, as a father of two, I had overwhelming amounts of time to watch movies. So obviously I watched 0 of them, with the exception of Glass Onion, which did get a nomination. I did watch that. So technically every winner was a surprise for me. So
because you hadn't seen it.
Exactly.
What award was it nominated for? Do you remember?
It was writing for adapted screenplay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Honestly, man, both of the Knives Out movies that have come out, I've really enjoyed both of them personally. But Kate, what about you? You and I had talked about The Whale actually a couple months ago.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. I saw the movie. I was so excited for this movie. Like I've been kind of keeping my tabs on it, and I think they did a great job like marketing this movie ahead of time. And then I was like, finally, it's in the theaters. So me and my friend went, and just in case, I was like, I'm going to bring some, tissues with me. And we both were like, passing those tissues to each other because it was just so, I don't know.
It got you in all the feels. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got all the feels, everything, I was just bawling coming out of them. We were like, okay, we need a drink.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a beautiful movie. Obviously Brendan Fraser did a great
just a heads
job.
Up. I don't know if you can see this. It's a little Brendan Fraser shirt. It says "Let's go, Brendan" on the bottom.
Oh my
God,
that's awesome!
Yeah,
nice shirt. Yeah.
He wears it very frequently.
Once every couple weeks, I guess.
They're already starting. They're already starting.
So okay, moving on.
I met him once at the a taping show that. It was in New York, and he was promoting I think the episodes of what was the show on Hulu, the Affair, I think. And he was so nice, down to earth, and I even talked to him after, just hey, can you give some advice or whatever. And he was, he said that you have to study, you have to, learn, believe in yourself. And, he was just very, very cool. And, I was happy for him. And that didn't surprise me that he got an Oscar. I would be just shocked if it was otherwise.
I know. It honestly was, it was one of the tightest races for leading actor that I've honestly seen really in the last couple of years. I don't know if any of you guys ended up seeing the Elvis movie or Banshees of Inisherin, but personally, I thought Austin Butler and Colin Farrell did enough to at least make Brendan Fraser nervous that he wasn't going to win. I thought his performance was hands down the best out of the three. But I love when we see these comeback stories or we see actors get outside of their standard stereotype. And it's like with Brendan Fraser and whatnot, what do we think of it? Let's think back really quick. Mummy.
Who would have thought
right?
Encino Man?
Encino Man. Yeah. It's crazy.
Mummy. I have not seen Encino Man, but definitely.
Oh, you have
all
to.
of the Mummy
Oh,
movies.
him and Pauly Shore. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a classic. I love that one.
Yeah.
And it's just, I really love those stories with that. You look at Brendan Fraser, just like, he had that sexual assault with the Weinsteins and then literally disappeared for like 15 years, and then finally when he comes back, it was much ado. I actually think the acceptance speeches for all four actors between Michelle Yeoh, Jamie Lee Curtis, Ki Kwan, and Brendan Fraser, that was probably the strongest collection of acceptance speeches I've ever seen. As far as I listened to all four, and all of them gave me goosebumps. All of them made it. It was inspirational. It was great. It was a really one of the better award shows that I've seen over the last decade that they've been putting out. So it's a nice change of pace. Better than last year's. Yeah. Cool. So
I thought Top Gun should have won Best Picture, since you asked me.
He opened the floor to anybody.
I did open the floor to anybody.
He began picking people, and he started with you, Neil. So yeah,
he didn't. I jumped in. Pay attention.
I will edit it to make it look like he picked you.
You're not going to do that. You always say that. You never do it.
But yeah, I thought Top Gun was great. Which one won?
Well, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, the hot dog finger ones. Yeah.
But you didn't see that one yet, right?
No.
Okay.
I saw nothing nowhere at any time.
But you did see Swiss Army Man, and you did see Super Ball, Wonder Ball. What was that one Matt McCarthy showed us? It was the ball that kept bouncing, and it was like cheating on the guy's wife, and it was a ball. And then the refrigerator, there was if refrigerator's running, you better catch it. And the refrigerator chased the guy down.
Yeah, was that?
The fuck were y'all tripping on?
No. It's a movie. Go look it up. It's on Google. It's So it's the Daniels. It's the guys that did Everything Everywhere All at Once and Swiss Army Man, and they did a short film that was how long was it? Like 10, 15 minutes maybe?
Yeah, it was weird.
Something like that. It was entertaining. Don't get me wrong. It was funny. But it was just weird. Yeah, I think it was called Wonder Ball.
What was Rubber?
That's those guys you're saying?
That's the Daniels. Yeah, that was their first big project. Was that short film that was 10 years ago that they did it? What were you saying?
They kept the craziness with the
They do.
content.
Yeah.
What was the one with the tire? Was that called Rubber?
Oh my God, the homicidal tire that used the mind control to blow people's heads up. Yeah, that was Rubber, man.
That was an interesting movie.
That was a good movie. I like that one a lot.
They have a short called Interesting Ball.
Interesting Ball. That's it. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh.
God. Anyways, super excited, super happy to see them. I actually got to see my buddy Matt and I. We worked South by last year. And we actually got to see the world premiere at Paramount, and we were also the Daniels came in. And
that's very impressive to see a world premiere.
Yeah, I know.
I just wanted you to know that.
Pretty exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, anyways, we were doing a panel with the Daniels, and they came in and they talked about their rise to where they had gotten to right now. It was pretty interesting. It was an hour-long panel. It was pretty cool.
Was it anything cool? Like we had to kill somebody to get our spot where we're at now, or was it just we worked hard and did our best?
They worked hard and did their best.
Oh, that's okay.
That one, man.
I think there's a little more to it than that.
I wonder, what about that short? Did it help them somewhere, or it was just the short and then something else happened?
It's a good question. Neil, you were looking at, does it show how many views it's got?
I just want to tell you what the log line for this movie is. Interesting ball. A red ball bounces past a cafe, a couple of folks' houses, and then goes to the beach.
That's kind of what it was.
What?
Except they made a giant man out of 20 guys.
Was that same movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same one. And then it was the other one where the guy tried to fart in his friend's face, and the friend woke up and he's like, "Ew, get away from me." So he puts his foot on his friend's butt, then the foot starts to be absorbed by the guy's ass. And so and then slowly throughout the scene, exactly, it is a black hole, and literally the guy's ass sucks up this guy for 5 minutes. It slowly just
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain it better than that, but
it's a really fantastic movie.
It really is entertaining.
What I'm gonna watch after.
Exactly.
That's always a good follow-up. A little dessert to this podcast is some.
And then it's like, go figure, you make some amazing, like, dramatic, like, whatever, something, and it's like, in the abyss.
Yeah.
Yes. Very much so. Okay. So yeah, I mean, the Oscars happened. Hopefully everybody caught them and whatnot. But yeah, let's jump into, so Kate, let's get a little intro to you. Let's kind of give everybody a little background about where you came from, how you started, how you got to where you are now, what inspired you to do film, stuff like that.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in this small town between Moscow and St. Petersburg. And there is like no film industry there at all.
Wow.
They're like pretty much the crew that I gathered. This is the industry in my hometown. But I've always, I've watched so many like American movies, and Jim Carrey like was one of my inspirations, and in the sense of not my work, but in the sense of just wanting to be in movies, wanting to do this, just like I don't know, just spread the light and some kind of awareness. And then my parents weren't really supportive of, me being an actress or just going into like any kind of creative field. So I graduated with an economics degree. So I have also an economics degree. And during that time, I've discovered a theater studio in my university. And that was like my sort of call to, I should just do it. I should just try it, see how I feel on stage, can I do this? Can I not do this? Like things like that. And so I went there for like about 2 years, I think, maybe like even 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I loved it. And I loved to be transported into like different worlds and characters. And it was also like a lot of that material was challenging for me, and just kind of, I don't know, it's just like, I guess being an actor feels like almost you're challenge yourself and just self-reflecting a lot, and like making a note what like works for you, and being an observer all like of the world and other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I loved that world. And so I didn't, I moved to the States 9 years ago, which is like 2014.
Mm-hmm.
That was specifically to pursue acting at first. I went to HB Studio in New York, went to, did all the like auditions after, like short films, like indie films, whatever, to build my portfolio. And then there were some like dramatic changes happening like in my life. And I always also wanted to try it in LA, because like LA is, mecca of film. And this is where I wanted to end up being. And I decided, that was the time, and I also, there were some like kind of almost like signs for me to just go to LA too. I met people who needed an assistant in their company, and they were like, we want to hire you. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going. And like within a month, I just packed and, left, because I was like, there is going to be no other chance when I'm arriving and I already have a job. So I just decided to do it. And I didn't know anyone here in LA. Like I did not have any friends or family. So that, first like 3 years were kind of exploring the city, doing acting, figuring things out. And, fast forward like to COVID times, I've decided that I don't want to like wait anymore. And I wanted to, I started like to write a lot, and I wanted to my work, and that's how my film Parallels sort of was born during that time.
So have you changed do you want to do more writing as opposed to acting now? Is that kind of where your focus is?
Right now I'm more focused on writing and just, pushing my stories out there, directing them, hopefully. Like ideally I would like to direct them as well. Mm-hmm.
So have you gotten yourself to a comfortable place where this is kind of like your full-time job is writing and pursuing everything? Or is this still like a side project that you're hoping is one day the final goal?
So in 2020, before that, I was doing side gigs, working in the restaurant, like bartending, waitressing.
Yeah.
And I did like production on the side, throughout like my whole life in the States, but never like a full time. And when COVID happened, we all got fired from our restaurant job, and I was like, well, this is it. Like, and I had thoughts already about like, I gotta like move into direction of actually being in it, like fully, and that was like, again, something like from up there, just, you gotta do it now. What I started doing, since 2020, I basically just picked up a bunch of different gigs and, decided to be fully immersed into this. And I'm working more right now on like unit production manager or like supervisor, or not anymore as AD, but that's how I started like doing a lot of more AD gigs.
So what area are you primarily being a UPM or a supervising producer or whatever you're doing? Is it commercials, TV, music videos? What is it?
More films, yeah, more like feature films or
so like
short.
Is it indies mostly, or are you like big studios or something, or?
It depends. It's mostly like kind of it's hard to say. So it's kind of like indie level too. People who are self-producing their own stuff.
A good budget though, I would assume.
It's okay.
Okay, all right. I guess it depends on what your definition of decent budget is.
Yeah, it depends. If you're talking about like people who work in commercials, they're like, oh my god, this is low.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but well, I worked for like my biggest credit, UPM credit so far is this movie that we did during August about Hanukkah. It's called Menorah in the Middle, and it went on Hulu. So that was like I guess like distributed well, but also pretty low budget. But that was like a really good boot camp, and the movie turned out pretty good too. Actually, we're pretty happy with what we worked with. We were really happy with the product.
So I know you said that you went to school and you got education in economics and you did some theater. Have you taken like formal film courses, or are you doing this all just like learning as you go?
Yeah, no, I never went to like film school. Yeah,
Amen.
So I finished acting, school.
You're in good company.
You are. None of us did either.
Yeah, so I just like learned everything on the go. Yeah, and like obviously right now it's more accessible. Like you watch YouTube, you talk to people on set. You just gather all the knowledge from resources out there and the books and all that stuff.
So
Absolutely.
where do you, I guess, see yourself like going? What's your career destination or goal that you're trying to reach? Do you want to be like a major Hollywood director and writer? Like, where is it that you're trying to get to?
Not that there's a ceiling, but where would you like to be?
Well, we're talking big goals, right? Definitely, I definitely want to, work on studio films, and I want to be writing, like just focus more on writing, directing, and if acting comes to it, I would like to just act in some other people's projects, and just really having fun with that, not like what most actors are going through, which is auditioning and like going through all these like multiple stages. It would be just something like, oh, we know Kate, like let's bring her because we know her, she's awesome, let's do it.
Okay. So your end goal is to just be like, oh, we know Kate. Let's get her on this major project here. I know she'd be really great at it. And then taking, like, I guess, do you as an actress, do you look for roles that like challenge you, or that like in terms of like acting prowess, or do you prefer to like more build your brand? Which I guess is your focus?
Well, I mean, I'm still like doing it. I'm still auditioning and everything, but I feel like when I'm gonna get to that level is just kind of, it will, like, are you asking me if I'm gonna be like the Tom Cruise brand, or like Kate Blanchett who's like transforming into like multiple people or whatever.
Yeah, no. I think that's kind of my question. Like, is it more like the Kate Blanchett who moves from like transforms herself for the role, or is it more like The Rock who plays The Rock and all of his things, but they're really like he makes a lot of money doing it?
Right. Yeah. I guess that's a good question. I don't know.
Thank you.
Gary finally had the question.
I like how you guys are all just like little like stabs here and there at each other. I don't know.
They make it easy.
Right.
Friendship?
Yeah.
Acquaintanceship.
Right now, I'm thinking like I work.
Pretty strong word here.
Like when people ask me like what do I want to do the most and everything, I am kind of saying like I want to be like Taika Waititi. Like I just he was acting. He did not have like a lot of success for what he I think deserves, and then he just decided to make his own project. He got big, and now he's acting for fun, and even maybe in the movies where he's not really good, but like he's still doing it. Like he's just all of it. Like he's a creative, in writing, directing, and acting, and that's what kind of my pursuit is too. I want to be to just have a freedom of like what I want to do right now. Okay, we're working on this project. I wrote it. Let's push it into production and direct. And then somebody, one of you guys just like, oh, we need this like type of character. Like, okay, let's bring Kate. And so that's how it kind of.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, John. So speaking of this, I was just curious. Have you found it beneficial that you speak at least one other language than most people? If they're bilingual, they only speak Spanish. Have you found it beneficial in this industry that you speak, Russian?
I don't know, because Russia has obviously a certain face in the U.S. So, and I mean, I would prefer to be born here and have no accent. So that would be easier, I think, for me to get like more American roles. But at the same, because like I get like kind of 50-50. I get like auditions for like American roles, but also for Russian roles. But they always want like hard accent. Just like you kind of starting to put this like strong accent.
Is an American dialect? Is an American dialect difficult for you to do? Then would you say?
Yeah,
it is pretty difficult.
Okay.
Well, that's what. You see the portrayal of like Russian people on screen this way that because normally people don't speak like I do, and there are a few people who are like really good and maybe even better than me, but like the majority is not. And it is hard because like we don't have certain like letters, and it's like certain sounds more, not letters but sounds. Mm-hmm. So they're quite difficult to like master comparing like to British people who you share the same language and you just have to like switch a couple things here and there.
I would like to hear like a British or American accent. Do you have one that you could share with us?
Well, American is like this is how I speak, and I just when I do audition, I kind of try to do it better. But this is like how I speak with my American accent. British, I have to like hear some movie like a little bit further to like completely master it. I don't know.
There you go.
But yeah, it's if I kind of like practice, I think I could do it. But it's fascinating. I like doing I like learning like new things and new accents because they're it's more about not even pronunciations, but the way people like have their inflections and there's certain different musicality to it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to focus on with this new segment was kind of getting different indie filmmakers from different walks of life, different countries, different age groups, whatever. And then telling us kind of so I guess for you starting out in film when you were back in Russia, in a town that was, what you said, really small. There was no film presence, really. What did you do to kind of get yourself ready to jump into film? Because, like, for us, we grew up in Austin for the most part. Austin is a pretty large film city. It's a big city in general. Film out in Texas, good size relatively, and we have access to a lot of equipment and classes, and it's easier for us. It sounds like it was pretty hard for you to get into that. So specifically, what did you do? What did you look for? Did you talk to certain people? Did you go online and certain classes? Did you have a mentor or something? How did you get from your small town to going to school in New York?
Yeah. First question is like, no, we do not. At that time, we did not have like equipment. Sure. It's super easy right now. Yeah, super accessible right now. But that time, no, there was no like. I don't even know how people did that. It was pretty hard. And I wasn't really doing like film then, my focus
Sure.
also was just acting. And so I would obviously like read and, just like when in my university, I went to the studio because I wanted to get to know like how everything works. And then I went to the drama theater that we had in our hometown just to also get more education. So I tried to grab like everything, whatever I could there. But I've definitely spent like a lot of time because I also kind of, I felt since like about 13, I had a strong urge to move out of my hometown and not just to the big city, but like I kind of felt like I want to live somewhere else, not in Russia.
So did you feel kind of like it was impossible to have a career living in the town or even the region of Russia that you were in? Like you couldn't do film in that area at all, even if you went to a bigger city?
In my town, no, but I could just move to Moscow, and Moscow is pretty close. And I could obviously go to acting there and pursue film. It's kind of hard to like, explain everything because there are so many things happening like in my life that time. My mom was sick and she passed away and I kind of put on pause my dreams. Thank you. So, and I kind of decided, okay, well, I'm going to stay in this hometown. I'm just going to like finish degree in economics, make my dad happy. And then like, maybe I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that like courage, I guess, or whatever to maybe move out and move to Moscow. But again, maybe I would have done it if like my mom didn't pass,
Right.
Because I kind of felt like I don't want to leave my dad alone too. And when I was 18, and it was my third year in college, I had an opportunity to go to the United States. So me and my friend went on this work and travel program. So for 4 months, we were basically just traveling and working. We had an opportunity to also like work in like little places. Like we had we worked like in stores and like restaurants,
Okay.
And during that time, I like really fell in love with the U.S. and I wanted to move here. And I'm, kind of started mastering my English as well. And then when I was back to Russia, I realized like, okay, I really want to move to the U.S. and I'm going to focus a lot on my English. And I was just watching a bunch of movies like with subtitles and just hearing everything.
So if I was to pick up on like the biggest points that you would give to somebody who is in your situation at some point, somebody that lives in a small town in India or Canada or here in the United States, doesn't matter. Move out of your small town, probably would be on that list. Read a bunch of screenplays, I would guess, and then somehow find a local university or something that has studio access and just teach yourself as much as you can possibly do until you get to the big city and start meeting people and working in the industry.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta make it work. I don't know. You gotta do what you gotta do, right?
Yeah. You gotta read. You gotta research. If it's not around, you gotta find a way to make it be around. You have to find the information. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and that. And again, when I was in the States, that was the time when I met someone who was an actor, and he recommended me an HB studio.
Uh-huh.
So moving back to Russia, I kind of was also researching how can I get into this? How can I be a part of it? So yeah, I don't know, like there were a lot of like, research, and trying to figure out how to do this, how to move, when I lived in Moscow, because I also lived in Moscow for a couple of years, I went there to a bunch of like acting studios, and because you just gotta learn, you gotta absorb everything, any knowledge.
I've heard that's the biggest problem with it, at least not even just speaking from personal experience. I've heard that the biggest issue if you don't go to film school is getting into the industry and learning a bunch. When that is the advantage of film school from people that I've talked to, is that when you go for the 4 years, you do learn a lot of information in a very short amount of time. You just don't go super in depth on that information. So it's got its pros and cons. So okay, so let's segue into parallels. Let's say into your award-winning short that's making the festival circuit right now. Tell us a little bit about it. What gave you the inspiration for the story? Kind of just let our listeners know what's going on with it.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So this film is a very personal film to me. In 2020, I kind of had the turning point was, I guess, I just, we all were like cooped up in our places, we had a lot of time to think about like our lives, what's going on with the world. And so I kept coming back to just my mom, because like, even though it's been, a lot of years also since she passed, there was something like unresolved inside of me. And I wanted to tell her story because I think she was an inspiring woman, growing up like pretty much in the foster care, and wow. Having like no dad around. Her mom died when she was 16. She was like basically a fighter all her life. At that time, I also kind of felt like, oh my God, but like our stories are similar because, she also passed when I was 16. And so there were like, these parallels in our lives, kind of like I'm also a fighter, but in another way, like in this new country. And so I thought, okay, like I really want to say something about like this. There's a story, but how can I like wrap this person's life into just like a short and not a feature? Just one day, like, it was kind of like brewing inside of my brain. And one day I thought like, oh, like, I think I can make this movie as parallels between, my life and hers. I don't know, I just got really passionate about this and wanted to make it happen. And I felt like, well, if not like right now, again, when I have the time, I will find a way to, I'll find resources somehow, and let's just do it. Again, I felt like there's nobody's gonna like hand me any kind of paycheck or being like, hey, I want you to direct this. Yeah. So I wanted to make something of my own and be like, hey, I can do this. This is me. This is how I make things done. And just like did not want people to tell me what to do anymore, and just stopped. And I stopped waiting. I mean, I wasn't waiting, but it felt like I was waiting for
be your own boss. Mm-hmm. Sure. So how did you, if you don't mind me asking, how did you end up financing the film? Was it like, did you save up money over years? Did you do Indiegogo or crowdsourcing of some kind?
Crowdfunding platform. Yeah, I did it through Seed and Spark.
I've never heard of that one. Okay. What's different from that, between that and Indiegogo?
I recommend this platform, actually. So especially now, that time when I did my film, they had a fee. But now, since this year, they canceled all the fees. So you can just, upload your project for free. They're not getting their fee, their percentage anymore. But that time, I think I heard it from someone, and then I went on this platform, and they have a lot of free material about crowdfunding. So I watched all that course, and that was really, really helpful in terms of like, okay, how can I build the strategy in my crowdfunding, and just steps like what we have to do. So like it's not really like that different, I guess, from everything else out there. But I just felt like, okay, well, these ladies are, they're also giving resources, like these free resources about how to get your project funded. And it
Cool.
was, I was kind of scared to do this, obviously, because I've never done anything like raising the money. And
it's tough. It's very tough, very time consuming too, especially if you don't know. None of us know how to do it. We just kind of got to jump in blindly and hope for the best, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I just, decided that, hey, like, I'm going to film a pitch, and have like a feel of the film. And yeah, and hope for the best, hope that people resonate with that, and maybe they'll support me because they like me or whatever, or they like the project. So that's kind of what happened. I guess people who were my friends and colleagues, a lot of my colleagues actually helped a lot in through the film industry.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it was kind of it was a very intense month. Definitely it was one of the most like nerve-wracking experiences in a way, because you like start, and they warn you usually, they say like the first week is going to be good, then like the second and third is like slow and like you're panicking, and then like fourth is like your final. So it's just a lot of work, obviously, because when sometimes people like reach out and because they see that I'm producing too, and they reach out and they're like, hey, can you just like do that crowdfunding for free for me? I'm like, no.
Like, no.
This is like a lot of work, guys. You don't understand.
Yeah, put your own footwork in.
But it's I don't regret it at all. Not just because of the money aspect that I got from it, but it was kind of a nice way also to touch base with some people that I have not been in touch for a while. Because I was like reaching out to like my Instagrams, followers and who I follow, and like Facebook, and it's just like there were so many interesting conversations happening during that time that I wouldn't have otherwise. So, yeah.
How so? Just out of curiosity, like, what was any conversations pop into your mind immediately?
No, it's just, because I would like reach out, I would say, hey, like, how are you doing? We start talking about life, and, and then I just find out some like news about how they were doing. They maybe moved somewhere, or some new like jobs or something.
Oh, okay.
Like, because I'm not really active on Facebook, but, I have like a lot of friends who live on Facebook. So I kind of, it was nice to catch up again. People like, are very, very busy, obviously, with their lives, and if they get families, and then, you reach out to your like high school friends, and I don't know, it's just kind of been nice again to see how people are doing.
That's
especially
great.
During that.
Yeah, reach out and ask people if they can, help you out, whether it just be, monetarily or, just providing some volunteer hours or something.
Yeah, I would ask them like not to, be pressured. Just, if you can like spread maybe like
$10, $20,
or
I'll take it.
Or you can. I was like, hey, can you just like repost this? Maybe someone else will see like on your page, and they will support.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the. Go ahead,
John.
I was just commenting that that's one of the only things I like about social media is that when things like this come up, passion projects, the community really does step up and help out. Because even with Eye of the Beholder, we didn't get a ton, but we got probably like $1,500, maybe $1,000 from that Kickstarter. It wasn't a lot, but
yeah, maybe a little less, but yeah,
it was a little less.
Maybe a little less.
But
go ahead, Neil. What your?
I was just gonna say. So, was this the only project so far that you crowdsourced this way?
Yeah, it was my first project. And yeah, I mean, it is my first film like ever. I have, I've done films for other people, but like not something of my own. And that was definitely like a really, really cool to see people that they were surpassing even my goal, helping out. And yeah, I mean, it really paid off. So hopefully right now, like hopefully this like film will also propel me in like my career forward, with finding, I don't know, manager or just having like, or opening up a conversation like with someone and basically being like, hey, I'm not just like the writer and like I have this material, but also, hey, like I've done something, you know, you said like I wrote it, you know, and I directed it. So like it kind of, I think, adds a little bit of credibility, especially if it's backed up by awards, I think.
For sure, because I've had that concern before. It's like, I have this really, really strong passion project I want to do, and I want to crowdsource, you know, assistance to get it funded. But I'm always worried, like, if that doesn't, you know, take me to the next step, and I try to crowdsource again, are people going to be willing to give me money again? It's you know, it's a dance you have to kind of play.
Or will they think it's a scam?
Yeah, they might actually. I mean, we laugh, but I mean, some people might think it is a scam. Honestly, like all joking aside.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of people who write scripts, they find it very like you're really like pulling your own soul out and kind of putting it on paper, and it's very difficult to do. Which I imagine with your script, since it was about your mother, it was also really hard to do. Do you have any desire to, I guess, see that turned into maybe a feature length film later, or do you feel like that was a good format for where you're at right now with that story?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I get this question quite a lot, actually, that people from like festivals or just I don't know, just friends, they're asking. But it depends. Like if say I get like, you know, extra money right now. I mean, the final cut, the full cut, like that I wanted to tell about the story was 40 minutes. So, you know, you just add like another 40 or whatever, 30, and like here you go. It's kind of like a feature, right? Mm-hmm. Possible, obviously. You know, if somebody was into this and wanted to expand it, I wouldn't be opposed to it. The only like problem is obviously the timing. So, you know, if they decide to do it like right now, you know, then it's definitely possible because we didn't like change in it because it's a family movie. So like we all like these actresses, you know, we all look at like, so, you know, timing is kind of an issue. But at the same time, you know, my goal wasn't like to, hey, like, let me just make it like a short and then maybe I'll make a feature of it. Mm-hmm. I wanted to tell everything I wanted within this format. I'm happy with the way it turned out. And yeah, I just, I think it's, you know, it has its place to live on maybe some other short film platforms, and that's fine by me. I'm like, my goal was just to really tell the story and kind of pour it out of me, you know, and to see if I can do it, because I was obviously writing, producing, and like directing and acting it. So it was another challenge. So I felt like this was a great learning point for me. And it also inspired me and kind of gave me confidence that like, hey, I can make a movie, you know, I can make it happen. And so now I'm not like afraid anymore to have the next step and to make a feature. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So since this was your first film, what was probably the most difficult thing about, not even just the whole thing, what was the most difficult thing that you ran into? I mean, not only did you guys film in another country, you know, I mean, you basically it sounds like you ran the majority of this entire project yourself, you know, with obviously help from your friends. What was the most difficult thing, though, running your first project for those aspiring filmmakers out there? What's something they should watch out for?
Well, I mean, overall, it wasn't hard for me, this aspect, but it's really, really, really important to have a good team on board. Sure. I think it's just essential when you hire people who are passionate about this project, who like you, who will not question your lead. You know, it can get challenging because if, you know, there are long hours and stuff like that, you know, people get like cranky, and it's important that they're still like sticking by your side. So I'm blessed because, you know, most people in my team were like that. They were very supportive, and they still are, you know, after this time, they're constantly like watching, following, like seeing like what awards we're getting. Like they're very like cheerleading type of people. Mm-hmm. but for me, the challenge was, I guess, I mean, everything is like, obviously challenging when it comes to making movies.
Sure.
I mean, especially if it's your first one and you're wearing so many hats, I can imagine everything was a learning process.
I was definitely juggling a lot of hats for sure. And I didn't have an AD because I just could not find the right person. And I've just made a decision like, okay, well, I'm AD myself, so I'm...
You AD'd and directed? Wow.
Oh my goodness.
That's impressive.
She's also first AC.
Oh, God. And my own DP, and I'm doing my own hair and makeup.
Guitar and grip.
Was there anyone else involved in this movie?
It's just me the entire time.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, yeah, it just happened. It's not like I wanted it, I was prepared to hire another person. It just, it was, I couldn't find the right person. Mm-hmm. And,
sure.
It was just, so that was kind of like obviously hard. But again, there was my amazing script supervisor who there were a couple of days when she took on like AD responsibilities a little bit. Especially like when I was on screen when I had to shoot my scenes. But I think the most challenging thing for me was actually acting and directing. So like I made a choice that I'm gonna do like 3 days of me just directing. So I pieced together like scenes that I'm not on camera, and I was just doing that. And then for the other 2 days, I was on camera. So for me, it was very important to just trust myself, trust that I prepared for this, and kind of be able to execute everything within a certain amount of time. That's always the issue. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. So you said you were directing for 3 days and you were on screen for 2 of the days, or did you film the whole thing over the course of 5 days?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
40. Wow.
Pretty impressive.
That is, because it was like 40-minute short, right? 35, something like that. Yeah.
I think it was like 38, 39.
Yeah.
I wish we could have like 6 days because we ran like overtime on 1 day, like pretty good, so I wish we had like this extra 6 day, but and I wanted to push for that. I was prepared to do 6 days. But we just had an issue with like location, and just there were some things like falling apart. So I was like, man, if we just have to do this like in 5 now. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was definitely challenging, this aspect of like, having like a clear brain and clear vision, like when you're working like nonstop like this. But again, it's like it was definitely a challenge in like so many aspects.
So how long did you spend on like pre-production? And we know you spent 6 days on production and then like post-production, or 5 days.
Yeah, days officially. Yeah, like 5.5, like 5 and 5 hours. Pre-production. Okay, so I crowdfunded the film in May, and then I guess it was from like June up until August, August. We were shooting at the end of August, or it was the beginning. I mean, it might have been beginning of August. So yeah, definitely like 2 months of prep at least. It was just like really nonstop prep, and even when I kind of flew to Russia already to I gave myself like about 3 weeks before the shoot. Or maybe 2.5 before the shoot, and then I stayed after the shoot for another week. But I thought like I'm just gonna be like doing a couple things here and there, but I ended up like working like a lot because we also didn't cast the lead up until like I don't know, maybe a week prior to the shoot.
Oh, okay.
Jeez,
it's exciting.
Yeah, that's talking about getting down to the wire. Wow. So, I mean, hey, but in the end, though, it all worked. I mean, you sent me that list of festivals you guys have gotten into and the list of nominations and awards you've already won. And that's pretty impressive for your first up at bat. I mean, you knocked it out of the park. So congratulations. Out of all, because I was looking at your list and there's a fair amount. Out of all of the festivals you got into, which one are you the most proud of? Which festival are you the proudest to get into?
Cannes. No.
Well, yeah. Sundance.
I'm good. Yeah, well, not yet. Sundance is not with this film, but there will be Sundance, I hope, with my other next film. Because I'm working on a drama right now too. Besides other projects, we can talk about it later. But yeah, it's a good question. I feel like it's still out there, like because I'm still waiting on the festivals. It would be really nice to like get into the Oscar qualified, obviously.
So none of the ones you got into were Oscar qualifying as of yet?
No, not yet. No.
Okay. Still time.
To do that. I really enjoyed Sholo Film Festival in Arizona.
Okay.
It's literally that's called it's small town called Sholo.
Okay.
But it's like it was just nicely organized. 3 days I spent there, and every day they ran your film in different slots, so people had an opportunity to watch the film.
Oh, that's a pretty good idea.
That's pretty cool.
That's a really unique idea. Yeah.
Not a lot of festivals do that. Just show your film once. That's it. But this one gave this opportunity for filmmakers to screen their film 3 times. So
nice.
That was great.
To find all of them, did you go on Film Freeway to find all of them, or did you go another avenue to find all those?
I submitted everything through Film Freeway, but the way I found out about the festivals was through a festival doctor. It's this woman who runs a company, which is called Festival Doctor.
Okay.
And she just this is her job. She goes to every festival. She curates them. She's seeing if they're good or not. And then based on your film, she gives you a list where she thinks you potentially get in or get awards.
Okay. How does that now? I've actually never heard of that. That could be pretty helpful. Is it a service does it cost a certain amount, or do you?
Is this Dr.
apply?
Rebecca Louisa?
Yeah, that's her. Yeah. She's very helpful though, because she gave me a list, and then I was like, hey, can you just throw me 10 more, maybe in Europe, and she did it for free. But this costs money, but it's totally worth it. At least for me, it was worth it because I was, how it is, you go on Film Freeway and you're in the sea of just film festivals all over the world, and you're not sure if they're good or not, if they're, they're just going to get your money and that's it, or, they're actually going to make your film, expose your film and make it better for you. And, besides just the facts that okay, we know that festivals are better that are ran for a certain amount of years, but again, you have no recollection whether they're going to help you or not. And that's why she helped me a lot. I just kind of assigned this to her, and, she told me this is the list, here we go. And but I mean, it paid off. You see, this is most of her suggestions were those festivals that I won or got into.
Very cool. Very cool. It's nice to have, I guess, somebody who's very experienced with that to let you know, this is the type of film that would do well in this festival.
Yeah.
Yeah, she definitely has an eye on it.
Yeah. Saves you a lot of needless entry fees for festivals that wouldn't want you, I guess.
Yeah, but
shut up, Gary. Cans will take us at some point. A film about a guy's asshole. Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
We'll get into that another day. Sorry, Kate, keep going.
Oh no, just because it gets expensive, because all these festivals in general are $50. Some less, some more, but you spend a lot of money on that, so you better spend money which is going to make your film seen and get in and just get the prestige out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So speaking of film entry fees and stuff, I'm not going to ask you what your budget was for the film, but are you happy with how you allocated the money? Do you wish you would have saved more for more entry fees? Do you wish you would have put more into the production? How do you feel?
I wish that maybe that we would invest a little more in sound. And again, it's there's certain things. It's not that I didn't know about that or anything. It's just, it was kind of hard. Again, my hometown is it's not Moscow.
There's not rows and rows of equipment to pick from. And
from Moscow, and I don't know anyone, it's the same for me, putting like an ad and then interviewing only like millions of people from Moscow. So I just had to go and trust like my producer, my fixer producer in Russia, and just being like, hey, like, well, just, are we happy with this guy or not? Like, so we kind of, for certain aspects, I had just to trust him. But I also wish that we just had a little more maybe connections in that world, so we can bring like maybe another mixer or someone like extra, because he did a good job. It's just like it was a lot on his shoulders in that time, and there were certain things that I just wish we had extra help. Yeah, and but as far as like, I mean, I'm okay sharing like with the budget. Like the film was 10,000 itself, and the post production I did here, except sound. The sound was kind of there, but everything, the color and editing was here, and I spent about five, maybe like 6,000 on that, and plus the sound about maybe 2. So yeah, I mean, I think my film cost like about 18,000 total, excluding the fees for festivals. For festivals, it was about like 3,000, I think.
So of that 18,000, how much were you able to crowdfund?
I crowdfunded to about 14,000.
Wow, really?
Impressive.
That is impressive. That is. Shit. How long, if you don't mind, were you doing that for? How long was your crowdfunding going on? Did you do multiple rounds, or did you do one round for 5 months kind of thing?
Oh, no, it was just a month.
Just 1 month.
It was
Wow.
Because, that part, I don't know if it's still the case, which I'm sure it is, but they have 2 options for a month, or so it's 30 days or 60 days.
Right.
And something with the fees was like different. I don't know, but I just was like, nope, I'm just going to do it for the whole month.
So how did you market your sizzle reel and the actual crowdfunding site? Like, how did you get that out to people? Be like, hey, here's my movie, give me money. Like, did you just post it on your social media? Did you have friends that helped as well? Like, what did you do?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of I started prepping people that I know a little bit ahead of time. So whenever I went to set, talked to people I already knew, or just some new people that I met there, then I would be like, well, because we always talk about like what are we doing outside of this project that we're on, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm actually working in the movie. So I think this is a little bit like. Well, first of all, it's just building an interest, I think, about the project and you. And also, it's not very in your face. Like, if you just met someone and you're like, hey, give me, like, the money. Like, I'm just doing this right now. So I started, like, doing this awareness, building kind of, like, awareness about the project early on. But then so after I filmed the sizzle reel, I just uploaded it on my Instagram, on Facebook, like, everywhere. And I reached out to people directly, to each and every one. Mm-hmm. Really, yeah. So on Instagram and like Facebook. Yeah. And that's why I was saying like it was kind of good also because that's how I built conversations with them outside of my financial, goal.
Begging for money. Yeah. We've definitely all been there. So we actually really haven't had anybody that's filmed at least a movie they're talking about in another country on the show yet. So I'm actually kind of interested in the international filming aspect, like problems you ran into when you were in Russia, where you guys sourced equipment, how you found your team, stuff like that. So kind of just give us, what was it like filming compared to America, compared to Russia? Are there any major differences?
I wouldn't say there are major differences in terms of like protocol or how things are ran normally.
Oh, that's surprising. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think, there's just, there's always action and cut, like
okay.
People,
I guess so.
People have their responsibilities, and they know what they're doing. I think the hardest part was like just piecing like people together.
So how did so take us through that process then. How did you piece your team together? Let's start with that. How'd you get your crew together? Where were they all from?
Yeah. So my first person that I wanted to hire was obviously a producer fixer and the DP. So I kind of actually I think the first person I asked about that was my good friend. She's working at the theater, the drama theater, in the PR department. But I was like, hey, like, maybe you can guide me through, like, maybe do we have, like, anyone? Because sometimes there are some film crews coming to the theater to film the show or promote somehow the theater. And so she was like, oh, well, like, this guy, Mikhail Zemlyakov. And I was like, oh, my God, how could I not remember this guy? Because long ago, we met and I completely forgot that we sort of tried to make a short film. Like I was acting though in it, but he was like filming, directing, and I've never saw like what happened with that film. I never saw it completed, but we worked together, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I know this guy, so I decided to have him as a DP, and found another person again through my friend who also works in commercial department, and but he was like really good with managing and affirmative, and he knew people in the city, so I was like, perfect, like I got my producer too. And then, he helped me like with finding some locations, and he helped me to hire like the sound and I think my script supervisor too. So he helped me piece some of the crew together. Then the stylist, like our wardrobe person, I knew her, and I brought her from Moscow.
Okay.
And
so these people didn't necessarily live in the area you filmed in. They lived in Moscow and St. Petersburg for the most part?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I had to bring them. Yeah. And
that'd be pricey, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, I had to pay for like an apartment and their travel, of course.
Sure.
So I paid all of my people. Yeah, I mean, it's.
Thank you for paying your cast and crew.
Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yes. No, I mean.
And not give them just IMDb credit and food.
Yeah. No, I hate that, and I don't appreciate that. I'm feeling like you have to like respect other people's work, and and again, like I paid. I think for during that time, and with the prices in Russia, like I paid them, I think good, like for it's not great, but like it was decent. You see these like $150, $200 projects here in LA, and it's like way harder to live here, make a living here. So yeah, that we
that's how
I gotta say that like there was a kind of like a mentor in a way for me at that time. So I through like kind of cold outreach during 2020, I talked to this Russian producer, Sergei Bespalov, and like his latest credit actually is like doing really well. It's called About Fate. It's on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, hey, like, again, don't know anyone in the motherland. Like, can you just help me out to find some people? So he connected me with another producer in Russia, and she was able just to help me like a little bit with paperwork and she found me a casting director too, who brought my lead and the dad as well. But the rest actors I had to find myself, actually.
And none of them were in the small towns between the two big cities, though. I would assume. Okay, yeah. All right, just making sure. Figured as much. As far it sounded like it was difficult for you to find the crew and the cast. I mean, you had to go through between the two big cities. How about finding equipment? Was that difficult? Like, did they have rental houses in Moscow? I mean, I'm assuming they would, but
they do have rental houses, and yes, we rented something from Moscow, I think, and then. Because my DP has his own like production company, they had some equipment, so we kind of pieced it together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Now,
what were the
go ahead.
permits and stuff like that required as far as international?
Permits, you said?
Yeah, like here in Austin, like if we want to film, usually, especially if it's in like a government facility or private residence, we have to have contracts and permits from whoever owns the property in order to be on it. Usually, you have to carry insurance in order to be on some properties that you film. How was it like over there?
Thankfully, to Russia, we didn't have to have that stuff. It was like, we again. Maybe it's because like of my small town. Nobody cares. We just had basic contracts with like location person, but it was just like
location releases and stuff. Sure.
Yeah, nothing like permits and insurance. I mean, maybe we had insurance for like equipment. I think. But we didn't.
I hope so.
But that's the questions to my fixer producer.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's logistics. That's the boring stuff. Yeah. Let someone else worry about that.
That was the case, but we didn't have to somehow show a proof to like the location person. Like no. So that was kind of easy and obviously cost effective. We would save money. And I think, in Moscow, it's kind of similar. I mean, again, you probably have to have some kind of permit if you're shooting like in Red Square or something like really super public. But I'm sure a lot of filmmakers, they're just doing it all guerrilla.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm not familiar as far as international goes, but like, was there any kind of like SAG for any of the actors or anything there that you had to cooperate with or fall in line with their guidelines?
Yeah, any unions?
Yeah, I did not work with unions, and it's a good question, actually. I have no clue if there is any kind of union.
Do you think Russia is a country that likes unions? Come on now.
Yeah, remember what happened to the Soviet Union?
Oh, Gary.
Yeah, honestly, it's a good question. No, I'm sure like there are, some like kind of guilds, but I have a feeling it's sort of like you have to get like to some super duper level, which is here like there is a standard, and you have to get like 3 credits, but over there it feels like there's a little more, I don't know, there's like union, in that sense. And the plus with the like the way Russian acting system works is that a lot of actors, they're working actively in theaters, and once they're hired, they're pretty much hired for life, so that's good. Okay, but also bad, so it's kind of.
That's interesting. That's like how the American cinema was in like the the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, where you'd have an actor, but basically they worked for like Paramount,
studio system.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yes, that's like theater, not for films, but that's how theater is run there. So
really, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Seems kind of like an archaic practice, but I mean, hey, whatever floats their boat.
An archaic practice in Russia?
Calm down, Gary.
So Kate, since you worked with both now, do you prefer working with Russian or American crews? What's your preference?
I don't know. I mean, again, like, there's no big difference in terms of communication. So
really,
if they're on board, if they're like, if they're just on my team, like, I don't care what language they speak, where they're from.
Well, the language has nothing to do with it. That's not why I'm asking. I'm asking because just when you jump between countries, and honestly, I've noticed that even jumping between, like, meeting people in different cities and states, just filming in the U.S., it's a different work ethic. It's a different mindset. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Again, hard to compare because I haven't worked in Moscow, which is, the film industry is obviously huge there. But my people were like eager to make this project because this was, for most of them, it was like a first fictional project. They would work like on commercials or like industrials or like weddings or whatever, but not actually just the film. Okay. So they were all like eager to make art, But I mean, I'm sure, there's like in Moscow, you come across like some people who are tired, jaded, whatnot, and happy folks like everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess really as far as the international filming process, did you guys have, Gary and Neil, were you guys interested in digging into that a little bit more? I don't know if y'all had anything at all that you were curious about.
It just seems like that would be since you got all of your crew and cast and equipment in Russia, it seems like it's a lot easier than like having to like put it on a plane and send it over, and cheaper too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't know how people used to do it early, or like I don't even think that there was a big like indie filmmaking in Russia back then. Just because obviously when you go to film school you have access to that equipment, but now again it's very, very easy. So I didn't have to bring anything except like I guess my hard drives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all, because I was gonna move back here, so I just had to, and then my post house was here, so but that was the extent of what I brought with me.
Yeah. So travel light basically makes it easier.
Keep it cheap. So yeah, let's segue into our last portion of the night here. Future projects, current projects you're currently working on. So obviously we'll post a link here below the episode and let people know where to catch Parallels. But what are you working on right now? I think you said earlier that you were working on a drama currently.
Yeah, I'm working on 2 projects right now. Very, very excited about this feature thriller horror film.
Wow.
Thriller horror script that I wrote over 2020, and it got placed in like semifinals for the Big Break competition and a couple others. So, and since then, I like redrafted it a million times, but. It's a story. It's kind of like a mix of Shutter Island and Russian fairy tales. Okay. So I really like mysterious, spooky, creepy, with like crazy kind of ending. So very like commercial at the same time artsy. There is a little bit of drama element in the film too. And that's what I'm like really working on right now, on finding the right people, finding producers and financiers. And yeah, another one that I think it might happen. I don't know, actually, I'm not sure, because like, you never know which project is going to like lift off first. But, the other project that I'm working on is a drama film.
Right.
And it kind of inspired me because a lot of people, I feel lonely or not happy during holidays. Mm-hmm. And so I've decided to create a film about it's a Christmas drama basically, because everyone makes a happy Christmas movie, but mine is going to be on the little bit more deep and like sad side, I guess. And it's similar to Collateral Beauty films, and I guess some people told me it looks like Before Sunset. And I saw the film just now, and I was like, okay, yeah, there are some elements, because it's a movie like about 2 people talking, about life, death, relationships, and they're helping each other to move on, and to kind of grief. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be like a very deep, like personal kind of, no, it's not that personal as Parallels, obviously, but it's just more of a reflection about everything, about life, death, and relationships.
Okay. Cool. That's a very cool project. And you wrote both of them, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And they're both going to be feature length, right?
Yeah, feature length, yeah.
So how long did it take you to write those scripts?
So my thriller horror, it took me, I don't know, I tend to write fast. So it probably took me like about 3 weeks. And then just, from that year, I just, submitted to a bunch of contests, so I'd get like some feedback, some notes from this or that place. So I reworked since then. and this is like my 5th draft right now that is done at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know, if I have time and I can just like really dive into the story, I can write pretty fast.
What did you do typically when you workshop your scripts? Typically, do you have 1 or 2 people you go to kind of give feedback, or do you have like a group of they have screenwriting workshops all the time? That's pretty popular.
Mm-hmm. I just submit like for contests, I just like a lot of people do submit to like,
sure.
I don't know, Screencraft and
to get notes back. Okay.
Yeah, for
That's
the
a good
notes and trying to place also the script. But I also kind of, like for instance, this Christmas drama, I've decided to share with a few producers that I know and writers, just to get like feedback, any notes that they have, and I it was overall, like, I did not find any same note. There were just some suggestions, and they were kind of minor, but everybody liked that idea, because it's in New York, it's Christmas, and there's a lot of sadness to the fact that the main character like lost her fiance at a young age, and meeting this other character in Central Park, and like they're connecting on similar traumas. So it's kind of, I guess, I don't know, resonated with them. But again, not sure like what can come first, because both projects are not like very cheap. I mean, I could make my drama cheap, I guess, cheaper.
Sure.
But the thriller horror definitely is not like cheap.
Yeah.
But you never know. Some like everybody. This is what I learned. Honestly, like this is what I learned in the industry, is that nobody knows the answer. And one producer is going to tell you, hey, you gotta make your drama first because it's cheaper, and you gotta just like make it. And the other will tell you like, no, like the investors, they want bigger stuff, they want 3 million projects, so like definitely like finance somehow your horror. So like nobody knows, and you just.
It really is just by luck, honestly. Like it's crazy about. There's no blueprint to it. There's no textbook. I mean, how many people have we talked to over the years, Gary, that like you talk, or and Neil even, like how many people have we talked to over the years just about different ideas we've had for projects, and we're like, how do we get that funded? How do we get that made? And before we actually got into film, that was a pretty strange concept. Now we know that there is
no right answer.
Yeah, there is no right answer. There's no way to do it. It's like, get it in front of as many people as you can and pray. It feels like it's an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Like it's just toss it up and
hope bench of friends.
That's right. A deep Rolodex of friends, and hopefully you got somebody who's got deep pockets that willing to help you out.
Mostly like the wrong group of lawyers and dentists.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. So while we're on the subject of indies tonight, Kate, I do want to once again I want to thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for this evening. But what we do every week, Kate, is we go on ahead and we give our recommendations for our listeners to go ahead and watch a movie for that week. Hopefully they'll want to. So I'll go ahead and start with the hosts, and then we'll let you come in here with your recommendation. Typically, we try to recommend movies that have to do with the topic. Tonight was a little different. I would say maybe something that's an indie film or even a foreign language film, since yours was as well. Gary,
all right.
Why don't you start us off tonight?
I'm going to recommend an indie film that I saw on the Independent Film Channel many years ago. It's called Pi, P-I. Basically, it's about this guy who it's filmed in black and white. It's very grainy because it was back when you didn't have digital, or may have been on a digital camera, but like it looks really grainy. And he basically kind of just goes crazy because he's got this mathematical equation in his head, and has to figure out how to get that out of his head. And he does succeed in getting that out of his head. I will let you watch the movie to see how he gets that out of his head, but he does.
I am absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little shocked this was your pick, because do you know who the director is of this?
James Gunn. Oh.
No, not James Gunn. Darren Aronofsky.
Oh, Darren Aronofsky.
Who is also the director of The Whale that we would watch. But
that's why I recommended it.
It's all linked together.
It's all in the LeadFeather cinematic universe.
And it takes place in Anadarko.
Yeah, his name is Alvin Strauss. Anadarko. No, but Darren Aronofsky is notorious for being like super art house film. Ian loves him. Oh. So he's a David Lynch type director.
You want a new pick, Gary? You want to do a new pick?
Yeah, I'm going to recommend Battlefield Earth.
I love it. That's funny. Okay, Pie, check it out. Got to check it out. Neil, how about you? What's your recommendation this week?
All right, since we're doing indie films, my recommendation this week is going to be an indie film that I happen to help produce.
Indiana
and
Jones.
I have a cameo in. It's called Eyes of a Roman, directed by C.J. Goodwin. I'm actually working on another project with him coming up, and we'll hopefully get him on the show here soon. But it's obviously about the battle between Spartacus and Marcus Crassus, and it's pretty good, I have to say. I definitely enjoyed it. I'm not just saying it because there is a split second of my face on film.
Oh, okay.
You might also be a producer on it or something, but hey.
I am also a producer on it.
Okay.
But what am I?
Yeah.
Johnny, what about you?
Well, I thought you'd never ask, Gary. I was, once again, I know I always get like this. There's so many. If I was to pick one, I would honestly, I like El Mariachi, Robert Rodriguez's original introduction into Hollywood, but I'm going to recommend Swingers this week, actually. Swingers, for those of you that aren't familiar, was the first big role for Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn back in 96. That was where the famous lines, "You're so money, baby, you don't even know it. Vegas, baby!"
Those famous lines.
Those really famous lines.
Yeah.
It basically, they were both struggling actors at the time who had minor TV and commercial roles, and they basically bopped around LA trying to pick up women and just find food. Basically, they didn't make much money, and the movie was literally about that. The movie was about two out-of-work actors bouncing around LA trying to meet women and find something to eat and finally making it big. Anyways, it was a really fun project. It was the first one that Favreau ever wrote. So give it check it out.
El Mariachi, check it out.
No, Swingers. Well, check out both actually. They're both really good. Kate, what would your recommendation for this week be?
Interesting. Okay.
Besides Parallels.
Right, besides Parallels, yeah.
Yeah. This is like number one. Okay, guys.
I mean, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I originally, like, when I thought, like, you kind of mentioned like a mix of, quote unquote, like famous commercial projects and not so. I thought about Coda because this film is, and I have not watched it that year, but I've watched it actually this year on Christmas, and I really loved it. But I would recommend something a little bit different that a lot of people do not know of, and it's Drive My Car. It's the film. It's, I think, like multicultural. Like, I think there's Japanese and Korean. I forgot if they speak Japanese there or Korean. I'm not sure. But one of those languages, so it's a subtitle film. But it's an interesting, really beautiful kind of film, again, on grief and heartbreak. And it's a film about a person who decides to put a play together, Uncle Vanya play. And it's just, because I'm Russian, like, it obviously also resonates with me. It's a long film, but there is a certain, like, beauty in it, and like, there's certain elements, like, you just look at this and it just resonates with you and it touches you. So I thought it was a beautiful film. Yeah, just can't say more.
It's an Oscar-winning film.
Is it?
There you go.
Yeah.
In what category?
Best international feature film.
There you go.
Okay. Love that.
Yeah.
Guys, we're out of time. Kate, thank you again so much for joining us, especially on our first episode of the Indie Spotlight segment. Please, guys, we will post links to Kate's work. Do check out Parallels, though, once it hits the streaming platforms and online. Should be here relatively soon, I would think. Yeah, cool. Well, we'd love to have you back again. But for everyone here at I Don't Give a Flick, I'm Johnny.
I'm Gary.
And I'm Neil.
Stay classy. We'll see you next week.
I'm Kate.
See you again.
See you maybe in the future. Maybe at some point.
Thank you for tuning into LeadFeather Productions' podcast of I Don't Give a Flick. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast so that you never miss an episode. Podcasts are available on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and everywhere podcasts are hosted. I Don't Give a Flick is hosted and produced by Johnny Blackburn, Gary Elmore, and Neil Riley. Executive producer Johnny Blackburn. Technical director, editor, and audio mixer Gary Elmore. I Don't Give a Flick is a LeadFeather production, copyright LeadFeather Productions 2023.